friends, welcome to a new video. In this video I am going to discuss how you can calculate time complexity and space complexity of a program. Okay, so now let's start. So our first question is, what is time complexity? Time complexity is the amount of time taken by an algorithm to run. Means when you write some code, you use for loops, while loops, do while loops, sorting techniques, right? So obviously it will take some time to run, right? So time complexity is just do the same thing, means it just calculate that time. Okay, I think it's clear. So I have total three cases: best case, average case and worst case. I think you notice this thing. In maximum cases we use big O, means worst case time complexity, right? So best case time complexity is denotes by big omega. Okay, average case time complexity is denotes by theta. What is the types of time complexity? So I am not telling you this is all the types of time complexity. I have other time complexities also, but I have mentioned some types of time complexity like quadratic time complexity, constant time complexity, logarithmic time complexity, linear time complexity, exponential time complexity. Okay, so I have other time complexities also like order of n factorial, order of n log n, right? So now, so this is the practical part. So now the time complexity is order of 1. Okay, c equals to a plus b. So it will take constant time to run, right? So if you have this code, a equals to 8, b equals to 9, then c equals to a plus b, means simple addition program. So this code will take order of 1 time complexity. Okay, c equals to a plus b, because they have to only one statement. So we just add two numbers. Okay, a plus b. Okay, so now you can think, okay, what if we have multiple statements? But then also that code will take order of 1 time, because in that code we don't have any for loop, sorting technique or searching technique. We don't have. We just like c equals to a plus b. We just print something. We just calculate something. We don't have any for loops, while loops, these types of thing. Okay, so if we have multiple statements like c equals to a plus b, then hello, or you print something like other things like system to outer print your name, your roll number, you can print, but then also it will take order of 1 time complexity. Okay, I think it's clear. So now let's see the second example. In the second example, time complexity is order of n. Okay, just a second. The time complexity is order of n. Okay, so now order of n means you have a for loop, right? And that for loop it executes n times. What is the n? N is the input size. Okay, so if you use for loop in your code, then your code time complexity is order of n. Okay, means like here this statement will obviously take order of 1, right? This thing I have discussed in your previous slides, right? So c is into n. Okay, so to calculate the time complexity, we just ignore the constant things, right? So this is order of n. Okay, it's clear. Basically this statement will take constant time and this for loop is executes n times. So c into n is order of n. Okay, I think it's clear, right? So now the next slide. So in next slide, this is example. This is our scanner class. Okay, we just take the value from our user, and this is I have declared an array. So this is our for loop, right? So now what is our time complexity? I am not considering the space complexity. I am only taking the time complexity. Time complexity is what? Order of n, right? Because here I have used one for loop. Now you for loops, you always get order of n time complexity. Okay, I think you can understand one thing, that for for loops always you will get order of n time complexity. Okay, so now you can think like, what if we have multiple times for loop, like 2 times, 3 times for loops, then also your time complexity is order of n. Why so? For this let's see this example. Okay, in this example, as you can see, you have total 2 times for loops. Okay, so now this for loop is executing n times, right? So now your time complexity is n, because this for loop is executing n times, right? So for this n times, we have to write this n. Okay, then into c. Why c? Because for this statement, I have already told in my previous slides, for statement always you will get constant time, right? Then plus, for this for loop, same thing will happen n into c. Okay, c1, c2, right? So now at the end you will get order of n. Okay, no, to calculate the time complexity you have to avoid the constant parts, right? So c1 and c2 you have to avoid this c1 and c2 part. Okay, and then order of 2 into n, right? Then we have to avoid this constant part also. Then at the end your time complexity is order of n. Okay, so I think it's clear. If you have any doubt, you can definitely ask me in the comment section. Okay, so now go to the next slides. Our next time complexity is order of n square, right? So you have one outer for loop. Okay, and this outer for loop you have only one inner for loop. Okay, means this is a nested for loop. Okay, so now for each I value, this inner for loop is iterating from 0 to n minus 1, means total n times, right? And this outer for loop is also iterating from 0 to n minus 1, means total n times. So n times, okay, into n times, okay, into c. Why c? Because for statements like printing or some addition, subtraction, these types of statements, you always get constant time. Okay, so n into c. For time complexity, you always have to remove the, like, or you can just think like you have to ignore the constant part. So that's why your time complexity is order of n square. Now you can think, what if we have like another inner for loop? Okay, means after this inner for loop you have another inner for loop, then your time complexity is order of n cube. Okay, so now, like, if you have one for loop and then in this for loop you have another for loop, okay, and this for loop you have another for loop, okay, and this is going on m times. Okay, so then your time complexity is what? Order of n to the power m. Okay, and this m is the for loops. Okay, and this n is your input size, means your for loop is iterating from 0 to n minus 1, means total n times your for loop is iterating. I think it's clear, right? So now let's go to the next slide. Now let's see this example. Okay, so this is our for loop. You have a for loop, so this for loop is execute n times. Okay, and you have another for loop, this also execute n times. So now what is your time complexity? Is order of n square, and we just ignore the constant things. I have already discussed these things. Okay, so now n square into c. C is for what? C is for this statement, this hello statement. We get this c. Okay, and we just ignore this c. So now our final time complexity is order of n square. Okay, I think it's clear. So now this is just a sequence of time complexity. So order of 1 is the first time complexity, and then order of log n, then n log n, order of n to the power c, and then n factorial. Okay, this is just a sequence. So now I think this is clear. If you have nested for loop, then your time complexity order of n square. You have like for loop, no, like nested for loops, then your time complexity is order of n. Okay, and you just execute like one statement or two statement, then your time complexity is order of 1. I think it's clear. So now let's see this example. Okay, this is your if condition, right? In this if condition you have one for loop. Okay, now what is your time complexity? Order of n. I have already discussed for loop your time complexity is order of n. Okay, now but in else block you have nested for loop, means in one for loop you have another inner for loop. Now your time complexity order of n square. If you have another for loop in this nested for loop, then your time complexity is order of n to the power 3, right? If you have another for loop in this for loop, then your time complexity order n to the power 4. Okay, I think it's clear. So basically, what is your time complexity? If you think only, okay, this if condition is executed, then our time complexity order of n. That's true. But they have another else block also, and this else block your time complexity is order of n to the power 2, means n square, right? So that's why you have to take the maximum thing. Okay, so your maximum time complexity is order of n to the power 2, because I have already told this big O denotes what? Worst case time complexity. So you have to calculate the worst case time complexity. So in this code your worst case time complexity is order of n square, right? That's why your time complexity is order of n square. Okay, I think it's clear. So now what is space complexity? Space complexity is very simple. So the amount of memory space required by an algorithm during its execution. It's very easy. So like space complexity is like you like declare some variables, right? And also you can declare some array list, arrays, hash map, hash set, right? And also you can like declare 2D array, 3D array, right? So this is all about the space you use to in your code, right? So now let's see what are the types of space complexity. Types of space complexity in linear space complexity, constant space complexity, logarithmic space complexity. So as I already told, in time complexity scale, this is not all types of time complexity. They have other time complexities also. In same way, in space complexity, they have other types of space complexities also. But I just mentioned some of these examples like linear, constant, logarithmic. Okay, I think it's clear. So now first is space complexity order of 1. Okay, when you declare some variable like int I equals to 5 or int a equals to 9, declare a variable, then your space complexity is order of 1. Okay, so now space complexity is order of n. So here I have declared an array, right? And here I have declared an array list. So array list, always it will take what? Order of n time complexity. Okay, like if you declare any 1D data structure, then it always take order of n time complexity. Okay. So now space complexity is order of n square. When you declare any 2D array or 2D list, okay, or 2D hash map, 2D hash set, then always it will take order of n square space complexity. Okay. So when you declare any 2D data structure, it always gives you what? Order of n square space complexity. Okay. Let's see this example. In this example, I have declared 2D array list. Okay. And 1D array. Okay, I have take one for loop and one nested for loop. Okay, so now what is the time complexity and space complexity? So basically they have one for loop order of n time complexity. Okay, always for loops, if you have multiple for loops, then also you always for loops you will get order of n time complexity. Okay, so but here have also a nested for loop. Okay, so for nested for loop we will get order of n square, right? So I have already told you for big O we always take the worst case time complexity. So what is the worst case time complexity? This, right? you take order of n square time complexities, right? Because for nested for loop you will get order of n square, because they have one for loop and then again this is our another for loop, because that's why what is your time complexity for this for loop is order of n square, right? And what is the time complexity for this for loop is order of n. For always for for loops you will get order of n, okay? And what is the space complexity for this? Space complexity order of n square, okay? And what is the space complexity for this array is order of n. Why so? Because you have declared an 1D array, okay, and here you have declared an 2D array list. You have to take the maximum one. That's why what is the space complexity is order of n square, okay, order of n square. And what is the time complexity? You have to take the maximum one, and what is the maximum one? This, right? Order of n square. So your time complexity is also order of n square, okay? I think it's clear. So now let's see the second example. In the second example I have take just take one array and the dimension is 1D array, right? So what is the space complexity for this array is order of n, okay? And here I have take a for loop and I have just sort this array. So basically this sort method use what sorting technique? I think you know this sort method will use quick sort. So what is the time complexity of quick sort? Order of n log n, okay? I think you know this sort method will use quick sort, and quick sort time complexity is order of n log n, right? And here I have also used a for loop, but you have to take the maximum time complexity. So although this for loop will give you order of n and this for loop will give you order of n, but your time complexity is order of n log n, okay? Because you have to take the maximum time complexity, okay? Means in worst case scenario, that's why you have to take the n log n, okay? Okay, so and what is the space complexity? Here you have declared an array, right? And here you have take what? One variable n. So what is the time complexity for this? Is order of 1, right? And here you have take an array and the dimension is 1D array. So your time complexity is order of n, okay? So now you have to take the maximum one. So order of n, okay? I think it's clear, right? Okay. This is one question I give it to you guys. You can solve this problem and you can write the answer in our comment section, okay? Then I can understand you understood this topic properly or not. Yeah, that's all for this video. I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any question, you can definitely ask me in the comment section, and you can give me any type of suggestion that I can improve. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.